What is up, Arrowheads, and welcome to the Arrow Recap Show here on Collider Video. My name is Ann Campea, and I'm so happy you guys are able to join us to talk about Arrow Season 4, Episode 12, Undecided. Now, tonight, I am going to introduce our regular recap hosts and also a special guest. So, starting with Josh Macuga to my right.
Hey, guys. Like Roy in this episode, I'm coming in hot tonight, surprising everybody with some big things. No, I don't have anything.
And Michael Medina to my left.
Guys, I'm excited to talk about tonight's episode. I'm just coming in. Nothing special. I'm here.
And Jason Inman.
I'm here, and I'm glad that I filed my taxes for the last 5 years because I'm worried that our special guest could put me in jail for it.
And speaking of our special guest, we are so happy that Miss Cynthia Addai-Robinson has joined us, known to you guys as Amanda Waller, The Wall.
Yes.
Gosh, I'm really happy to be here.
We are all a little freaked out.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're all excited that you're here.
My pleasure.
I'm not. I could care less, but
You watch out. You're the closest to her.
Just wait.
I'm scared to death.
She has a gun. She probably has a gun.
And she will use it.
So since we have you with us, we're going to spend the first few minutes, obviously, kind of picking your brain because last week's episode, we saw a very big moment.
Saw my brains.
Your brains,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm going to kick it off, and I know these guys have questions as well as you guys over in the Twitter sphere. So I have to ask, because we saw you last week, gunshot to the head. Is
Kinda
Amanda
harsh.
Waller dead or alive?
I would ask the same questions myself. Normally when you see somebody with a bullet hole in their forehead, that's kind of definitive.
Yeah.
But, you never know on this show. There's plenty of people that have died and then they come back in some form or another. And obviously in the universe, that character still exists and goes on. So this is, I guess, an interpretation, if you will, for this particular character's arc. But, I was not necessarily surprised when I got the call about this particular episode, but having said that, at least I got the call. They were kind enough. Producers are kind enough to give me the heads up, no pun intended. And
Well, hats off. Too.
yeah,
I was going to say, that's the exact answer I expected from the head of a secret organization. Kind of like
know.
dancing around the
Trying to
question.
be-
You're like, well, maybe.
No, I'm really curious
Diplomatic.
though, because David Ramsey was saying like every script he gets, because you get the scripts that you're in, right? And he said he kind of reads and skims through to make sure he's not dead.
Right.
And so I'm really actually curious as to how they wrote at least that particular part. Does it just say gets shot in the head, or how does that work in the script?
I believe as it was scripted, it just says she gets shot.
Okay.
So even up until the day we were filming, I didn't quite know how that was all gonna
Interesting.
look or work, and so yeah, I mean, it was sort of like, well, if I get shot and they don't see it, maybe, but again, it's to me, it's pretty definitive as you see it on the screen, but. Stranger things have happened.
That's true. We have a Lazarus pit.
Exactly.
Use that Lazarus pit.
So you guys, what do you guys got?
I have a question from Twitter that at Flowist, I can't say this name. Do you think there's a possibility we could see Amanda in future flashbacks?
I suppose anything is possible. It's certainly not up to me. It's really just the kind of larger plan that the producers and the writers have for all of the characters' storylines. They all kind of have to work, and I'm sure there's kind of a broader plan when they start out, kind of putting the season together. And there are a lot of factors in terms of how they can make things work. I mean, it's a huge ensemble cast, and then you have a lot of different characters coming in and out, so sometimes that's part of it. It's just the logistical thing of getting actors when you want them and when you need them. But yeah, I don't know.
So you don't go up to the writers. You're like, I've pitched this storyline. Let me throw this flashback at you. Here's Amanda Waller.
I know, maybe I should have.
I think we need to see Amanda's time from the 90s.
Yeah. She was big into four-arm blondes. It was a big time, guys.
I will say that I was sort of hoping, and again, it's certainly not up to me, but it would have been kind of cool to see a little bit more of maybe a backstory in terms of, how she kind of came to be this woman. I sort of think they're, for any character that seems evil, and I actually don't interpret her in that way, but you always kind of have to wonder, well, how did she kind of become that way? Why is it that she has this sort of personal philosophy of, by any means necessary? And I always found that interesting, both as an actor and an audience member. I don't think it's sort of like for no reason. And I know some of the comic books have gotten into it, but a comic book has a whole lot more time to develop characters and go into origin stories and backstories. With a series, again, you kind of might think you're going to start out going in one direction, and then other things come up. So, I guess we'll just have to leave that to the fans.
Right. I hope your origin evil story isn't like your high school boyfriend cheated on you with your best friend and like, that's it, Arcus is starting.
It could, it could all boil down to one of those pivotal moments in youth.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Any other Twitter questions? Or
Yes, I have. Let's see here. Shurin Sagusa.
We're terrible at Twitter names.
Yeah, good job. The Twitter research.
Do you have any favorite scenes or lines of Waller? Loved your portrayal of her. Hope to see you return in the future.
Thanks. Any favorite scenes? I mean, I always enjoyed when there were a few of us there. One-on-one scenes are always great, but because I just kind of show up occasionally to the show, sort of like the more actors I could kind of, hang out with and play with, the better. I'm horrible with like quoting lines. I'm not good at quoting myself. I'll leave that to others. It's sort of like once I remember.
She's got all your quotes on your arm. This one.
Yeah, I just put the piece of paper on, tape it to someone's face. And that's not true, actually.
Was there one of the Arrow actors that you didn't get a chance to act with that you really like, oh man, I wish I had?
A lot of people, there were even some people that I didn't get to meet.
Yeah,
I mean, I know as we were catching, or I caught the tail end of this episode, and Colton Haynes, we never crossed paths. I never met him.
That's interesting.
Didn't even see him like in the makeup trailer.
And I know Ann is really disappointed. She's never really got to act.
I know. I'm still kind of waiting. No, he lives around here in Burbank, so
So yeah, it's tough because it's like, of course I'd watch this show and I'd see people, and so you kind of feel like you know them, and but then you realize you don't really.
It's almost like third and fourth cousins.
Yeah,
like you're like, they're sort of related, but I never see you.
Yeah, someday at a party, we'll have a run in, and then we can all say like we have this this experience in common, which is actually really nice. But
like at the rap party, you're like, Colton.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that like you always came in those scenes, and I will say every time you came in, I was like, shit. This now because you are evil. But you're such a sweetheart in person.
Wow.
Is there like, not once in the show do you smile unless it's an evil smile of sorts.
And I'd even maybe call that like a smirk. It's
smirk.
true.
I
I
don't think she ever smiled.
think I ever smiled.
Like,
No joy.
I love Amanda Waller. I said this last week. I was very heartbroken when you got the bulletin. I'm like, no, top characters. They can come back to life. There's always a possibility. A lot have said that you're a lot like Nick Fury. Amanda Waller's a lot like Nick Fury, but I think a little tougher. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
What was it like taking on an iconic character in the DC universe, such as Amanda Waller?
I have to say when I first joined on, so it would have been in the second season, and obviously many people have noticed that there are quite a few of us who were previously on another series, Spartacus.
Yes, I was going to say.
And so many of us have found this sort of second home, if you will, and have kind of appeared on the series, which has been really great. And so when I auditioned, the producers very unabashedly were like, we're huge fans of Spartacus. We loved you on the show. And it was like, oh, that's really nice. We'd finished up there and kind of didn't really know what was next. So this became the next thing immediately after that. And admittedly, I'm a little embarrassed to say, but admittedly, I didn't know a ton about Amanda Waller. So yeah. Sorry.
I believe I have some comments in my car for you. A parting gift.
But, maybe in a way that was for the best. I think sometimes you can get caught up in, if there is this really kind of iconic role that everyone knows, there's a certain amount of pressure going into it. So I don't know that I felt that initially. It was just sort of like, well, let me just kind of get the essence of this character because I'm not really sure what direction they're going to go in. I don't know how many episodes I'm going to do. You know, sort of given very little in the beginning as far as, you know, what direction they wanted to take the character and which storylines they wanted to explore. And, you know, obviously with the DC Comics universe, you could go in a million different directions, and the producers and writers kind of cherry pick the things. And so I think for audiences who have enough knowledge of the comic books, they get to have that enjoyment of like a character popping up that they're like, oh, that's so great, that's awesome. Yeah. If you just watch the show, you know, these are characters that come and go, but I think it's kind of even more special if you really, really know the universe. And you can kind of have that, you know, personal feeling of like, oh my God, they totally like picked that. That's awesome. But yeah, it's been a real gift to be able to portray the character. And I've had a lot of people kind of come up to me and be very complimentary, which is always nice. And on Twitter even, I have to say, I was even a little surprised at the amount of response. I mean, I knew there would be a response, obviously. But yeah, you know, it's like I got to do more on the show than I ever imagined, because I really didn't know. You know, I thought, okay, maybe I'll come and do a couple episodes and that'll be that. But yeah, you know, who knows even beyond this? I could come back. I could just kind of...
Well, you're not dead in the past. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
True.
You know, just saying there.
I don't die easy, and I've died many times on TV. So.
Well, you were fantastic on the show, and so hopefully you can come back. Fingers crossed.
Thank you. Well, you know, I think the way that I could come back, because, you know, we have these figures
Yes, we love this stuff.
in front here, and I am dying to have my own action figure. I mean, that would just...
How is this not a thing already?
I know. Well, that's
thing,
why I'm making the plug right now, because I'm like, you know, what company does this? DC
Well,
Collectibles.
DC Comics themselves.
You know, make it happen. I would love it.
We don't. I work for a toy company. We can talk later, but I do not. We do not make these, but maybe we can make that one happen.
Just any figure. I would take any of them.
That's great.
You know, especially with the action figures and stuff too, and you've said it is, yeah, you may have played a smaller part in the show, but probably the most memorable character, because you have that Argus, those Argus storylines, especially in the flashbacks in season 3. I mean, I didn't like you, but you drove those flashbacks, and you're a badass.
Yeah.
So you should have an action character.
Yeah, well, I will say too, I would have loved, I mean, it wouldn't have necessarily fit, but I would have loved to get in there a little bit more with some of the action. I mean, you know, I pulled guns a couple times, and Amanda Waller really is more about delegating that kind of thing, as opposed to, you know, getting her hands dirty. But you know, they have a fantastic stunt team, and all of the people involved with the stunts on the show, and all of the stuff that they managed to accomplish in the amount of time they have. I don't think the audience realizes like how impressive that is given the circumstances, you know, what they have to produce week after week. It's really amazing. And so it would have been cool to get in there and even have a double and have her like take a huge leap off a building. But, you know, again, that's probably not
You just wanted the mask. You wanted the mask.
Yeah, exactly.
But the mob boss never pulls the trigger. Just
Exactly.
remember.
I know.
Yeah,
They
other
just
people
cut
to
to
do it.
me for the stern
Yeah.
looks, but but it's been a pleasure, and it's been great too to just see how this show has really allowed for all of the spin-offs and kind of helped the CW kind of almost redefine themselves in terms of people's expectations of superheroes on television. You know, that I think is really cool to see too, because it really does bring out this very passionate fan base, and it's always really fun to meet people who are invested in stories in that way. You know, that's really satisfying as an actor.
That's got to be really fun too. Just like the comic book community is known for being very passionate, like I said, passionate, rabid fans.
Oh, man.
So I'd imagine, like, I don't know if you've gone to any like comic book conventions or made appearances and things like that, but that's got to be pretty cool when you see people coming up to you that just love your work on the show.
Yeah, I've gone to a couple. I think the thing that's most impressive to me is just the diversity of comic book fans. And you know, I haven't been to many conventions. The last one I went to was in London, and what was really great is it was almost like a family affair. You know, there were like, and you just kind of saw couples, you saw families, you saw kids with parents. And it was just really great to see, because to me, what it really boils down to is, again, the story and people's investment in story. and having, I guess, a safe place to feel things for characters, to feel a sense of hope, or whatever it is for them that makes it personal. So it's always nice, when you're at the conventions and you just see, how invested people are, and they're just so excited and like, I'm always
Or like Josh and
overwhelmed.
they hate you.
I don't hate you.
You know what? I can be that for you if you need to express that. I can be that
Oh,
for
man,
you.
well,
I have a really funny question I want to ask you. What is one secret about the Arrow set, or a secret about working with Stephen and Mel, that most of the Arrow fans don't know, or something that surprised you
Good
about
question.
that set?
Well, I mean, normally I would say a lady never reveals her secrets.
It's going to take you a while to get Amanda Waller out of
Yeah.
here. That's classified.
give us
Yeah.
something.
The secret, I am Amanda Waller. No, I mean, I think, I don't know that it is a secret, but again, just the amount of work that kind of goes into putting these shows together, it really is something. Because if you think about just the quality of the production, and this is, at times it can be really cinematic, and so to get that in TV, I can't remember how many days they take to shoot an episode. I want to say 8. I could be
Yeah, that
wrong
sounds
in
right,
that.
yeah.
I think it's 8. Wow. So 8 days, and that's like, coordinating all the stunts, remembering all the lines, shooting in the city. They film in Vancouver. You got to be, right in the middle of the city. All the night stuff, that's at night.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And again, as an audience, you are not meant to see kind of, for lack of a better phrase, how the sausage gets made.
Exactly.
You just want to watch a show and enjoy it. But there are definitely people who are putting, serious blood, sweat, and tears into, making this show what it is. And yeah, I mean, they work really, really hard over there to produce this, show that's on its 4th season, which, when you're a series, to get to a 4th season is a pretty big deal, especially nowadays. And then with all the spin-offs and everything. So, they must be doing something right.
That's how you could come back, all the spin-offs.
There you go.
I know.
That's right.
Hey,
In this universe.
I'd be more than happy to pop up on one of those
There's always
shows.
Earth 2. That's
Yeah.
always
You guys pitch it, because
the possibilities are endless.
Toy show. We got it. We're on it. We're going
Argus
to
and
start
Friends.
a Twitter campaign. So I
Sounds
think
like a
Come
Saturday
on
morning
down
cartoon.
to August when our friends are. Yeah.
okay, so I think to wrap this up, I think all of us, and Cynthia, I don't know if you're caught up or not, so that's fine. Make your best prediction. All of us at this table this season have made our prediction for who is in the grave. So whether you know the storyline or not, we'd appreciate your weigh in.
You think Waller's going to give us something?
who is in the grave?
I'm certain Waller put the person in there.
No, I'm scared if I say anything,
Oh, okay.
an arrow will
Especially if you get it right, too.
yeah, it'll like come from the side somewhere, and I'll have a dart in my
We're going to see
neck.
Andrew Kreisberg punch in the wall.
Well, that's the thing too. I think that the challenge, honestly, about speaking, about stories and guesses, is that it is all really kind of secretive, and nowadays most series, they kind of have to be that way. I mean, the internet being what it is, and people having theories, and it's hard to really have something that doesn't get spoiled, and so as an audience member, it's like you both want to be online looking things up, but you don't want to stumble across something that just completely ruins things for you. So I make no predictions on anything because I don't want to say the wrong thing, because this season still has plenty, and I'm sure there are plenty of surprises
Classic
left.
Waller. Stonewalling us.
Exactly.
Yep.
I guess with that, Cynthia, we really, really want to thank you so much for joining
Yes,
us.
thank
Thanks
you
for having
so
me.
much.
It's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure
Amazing.
having
Having
you
you
So
on our
fun.
show. You are a part of our
Thanks.
team. And for those of you on Twitter or wherever else you're on social media, please let us know how we can follow you.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm very slow on both of them, but I am on them. Twitter, it's at Cynthia Addai-Robinson, and Instagram, it's Cynthia Addai-Robinson. I don't know, just look for my names.
Don't feel bad. I just joined Instagram like
something.
2 days ago.
Yeah, this
terrible.
show just convinced them to join Instagram.
Yeah,
So.
don't feel bad. You're good. You're okay.
All right, so there it is. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you
Thank you for
much,
joining us.
guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys, we're going to move on to talking about tonight's episode, though, because Undecided had a lot of characters actually coming back, almost like a reunion for us, because we saw Colton Haynes come back and reprise his role as Roy Harper. We have Damien Dark's wife also making an entrance, Nyssa, Tatsu, Malcolm, the Calculator. The list goes on and on. Curtis Holt, who we've seen, who we're seeing now, who we haven't seen in quite some time.
Listen, let's just put this out on the line. I thought this was a great episode.
Yeah.
I thought this was a solid episode.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, this might be my favorite episode of the season.
I was just about to say
Wow.
that. I was just about to say that too.
Loved this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, we saw, like you just said, you rattled down like what we've been talking about
List.
for the last 7 or 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Like when's Nessa coming back? We saw Malcolm. We saw the whole crew.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And and even the flashbacks had something to them.
They
Yes.
started off
I
weird,
agree.
but they
Yeah.
course corrected.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let me add another person to that list. His hallucinations, Shadow's
Shadow.
sister, or
Yeah.
Shadow,
No,
whoever
Shadow,
that
but
is.
It's Shadow.
Yeah.
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 Because he came out of like a fever dream. So
Yeah.
and he had the rock. But this episode was badass,
It
man.
reminded me a lot of season 2.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
really did. Like I felt like the whole tone of it, and I felt that the flashbacks for the first time in 2 years had an emotional connection to them, because that's to me what drove the season 1 flashbacks, because it was all about like Oliver being like, man, how am I ever gonna get home? And then season 2 was all about Slade being like, oh, you screwed me over, Oliver, you know. But they're all about emotion, and I felt they lost that in season 3, and they kind of lost that in this season until this episode.
They really brought it back.
Yeah.
I agree. I hadn't thought of that, but I'm like, I had the most fun watching this episode all season long. So I agree. I think it was my favorite
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
really had everything.
And throw Nessa into anything. I'm so on board.
You
with
know
that.
how I feel.
I know you know.
Badass.
But dude,
Yes.
and Katana, and dude, that scene in Nanda Parbat when they get her in the jail, and it's sort of like that, you know that moment of the duck flies at midnight kind of thing, you know, and they kill all the League of Assassins guys. That was one of the better action scenes all season.
Yeah.
And I'm on board with Nessa anytime. She's been the one constant character in this series that hasn't changed at all.
Yeah.
And for all good and sometimes bad reasons, but she's a one-track mind, and I don't mind it at all.
I don't either. I don't either.
Yeah.
I actually am so surprised. I think she's so great. I'm surprised that she's not a permanent member of the cast.
Yes.
Now, she may be
Totally.
busy doing the projects
Yeah.
and things like that. She might be busy on other shows is why. But, like, man, the fact that she's not a part of Team Arrow drives me crazy.
I know.
She should
I
be a
agree.
part of Team Arrow.
Absolutely.
That scene where she faces off against Katana, I was like, oh my god, this was so exciting. Like, I wanted them to finish, see like the result of that. We didn't see that. Maybe next week, hopefully.
Only thing better could have made it better is like it was snowing. You know what I mean? Like
Go a little Kill Bill.
No, Kill Bill. Exactly.
That's
Correct.
true. I could have a segment of them fighting like every week.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
shoot to that every week until the like season finale where they finally end that one fight.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
down with that.
Yeah.
One thing I really enjoyed about this episode, you guys, is that it introduced us to a character called the Calculator, right?
Yes.
And so usually I hate these what you would call throwaway villains, but one, we see that he is not a throwaway villain because we are going to see him again. But two, it presents another formidable villain in the storyline. So not only do we have Damien Dark, not only do we have the on and off again Malcolm Merlin, is he good or bad? But now we have this guy named the Calculator who everybody online on the interwebs is speculating could potentially be Felicity's father.
Well, we get that confirmation at the end of the episode when she's like, hey, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have him thrown into the mix as well.
And I will say thank you to all of our fans of the show that sent us pictures of their TI-83 or TI-89
Yes,
that was
calculator.
We got a lot of
fantastic.
responses on
Did you
that.
see that?
No,
They
I
sent-
didn't.
They sent us pictures. They were like, I still use a TI-83. I was like, oh, that's amazing.
I don't know why I want to be sponsored by TI-83 now, but I feel like we should all
Yeah,
have
the
one.
calculator
of those.
should always. The graphing calculator, yeah. So
No, I thought the Calculator was really cool in this episode. I thought he was really great. I liked the actor. I liked the scenes. I liked it that we didn't resolve him this episode. I'm worried now about the next episode, though, because I'm worried that we're setting up that the Calculator will be done in the next episode. Like, they'll finish him off. Whereas, to me, the Calculator's strong enough. And he's different enough from all the other villains we've had. He could have been a season-long villain. Easily could be
agree.
a season-long villain.
Well, because Felicity's never really had like a big bad against
Exactly.
her.
Yeah.
You know, and
Agreed.
like a hacking big bad. It's kind of, I loved those scenes.
And then the
with her.
hacking big bad. Like imagine a crazy season 5 where the calculator, the secret, is behind the throne, and he throws all these past villains that we've seen over the
Yes.
past 4 years. They just keep coming back to take him down.
Right.
Gauntlet, yeah. I
Yeah,
like
a
that.
really cool gauntlet. Yeah.
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 Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Brains, bronze, all the battles going
Yes.
on, right? What else? Damien Dark's wife, I don't know her name.
What,
You
Rune?
guys remind me.
Ruve.
Is now
Ruve?
Ruve
Ruve.
Adams, or was it Adams?
Ruve Adams?
So I don't
She's
know
in the
if
Adams family, yes.
If you guys remember, but we have this
look it
mayoral
up real
candidate happening. You know, it kind of comes in and out of the storyline
Yeah.
Yes.
that Oliver Queen is running for mayor. Now he has another opponent. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Is this going to present an issue for him?
I'm actually glad that he has another opponent. I'm not too happy that it's Mrs. Dark. That doesn't really quite work. I actually would prefer it to be Damien Dark, but they went down that road and Damien Dark's the criminal. Get rid of him. So they can't do that. We need something with the mayoral campaign because Arrow misses something when Oliver is not trying to be his actual persona. When he's not trying to be Oliver Queen, the show suffers. We learned that last season. So he needed a candidate. I don't know if this is the right candidate. But it'll be interesting, and I'm glad we're getting into the mayoral campaign because I want to see more conflict with him trying to be the mayor and him trying to be the vigilante.
Well, we liked what we saw earlier in the season when we were seeing this, I guess, Oliver being Oliver. We thought that was kind of nice to kind of see these two ends. Like you get, Green Arrow and you get Oliver, but then they kind of lost sight of that the last few episodes. or
Yeah.
So I like the fact that maybe now they're kind of trying to right this ship.
Ruve Adams just confirmed it on IMDb. And we've said it on the show, I always was just confused by why. Okay, so they're worried that nobody else, people running for mayor, they're dying, da. And Oliver's like, I'm going to run for mayor. Couldn't you just at that point be like, I want to be mayor? And they're like, cool. The job is yours. It's like in
There's
Guadalajara-
something called democracy, Josh.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so have a flash election. It's all
when you just say you're mayor, you fail the city.
well, I failed the city a bunch of times. So,
you know?
But like in that movie Cartel Land, when they talk about the politicians in Guadalajara or in Juarez, it's like one person takes over mayor and then they're killed 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we were seeing in this. And so if you want to be mayor, and so he was running unopposed, which really means just like we have to wait till election day for him to be mayor. But now Ruve is in there. Now there's actually some conflict. Now it actually seems like an election, which I like.
Yeah.
And because she's Mrs. Damien Dark, and she's sort of like that,
Well, it's interesting because
She's
now he'll
evil.
be fighting the Darks
Yeah.
in public and behind
Yep.
the scenes. Like so he's got double. And again, that's going to be the interesting thing that if they let Oliver win the election and we get a season 5 where he's mayor of Star City, I can already see the scenes right now where it's just like he's going to have to several times not go after the crime or go after the situation because people then will immediately know that he's the Arrow.
Yes.
Right.
He'll have to be like, I can't.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, you got to sign this bill.
It was like
Damn,
how
I do.
Spivot framed Barry in the
Yes.
Flash 2 episodes ago. Same
Yeah.
thing. Like
Exactly.
nobody would
I
know.
was kidding, I saw
Oh
it.
crap! Sorry.
All right, let's talk a little bit about our boy Roy Harper, who has returned.
Our
in the
boy?
Colton Hayes.
Our boy.
your
Our boy. They made sure he had a scene where he had his little tank top
Jonathan,
on
can we
too.
put hearts above Ann at this point? Can we do that?
Hey now. Okay, so
Little heart
Roy
emojis?
is back though. He wanted to start a new life. And obviously he got caught up again in something.
By the way,
and
he
now
started
we
his
see him
new
here.
life in Hub City, home of the Question.
Oh, well
it
done.
is.
There was a lot of cool Easter eggs in this episode. I got more.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to hear all of them. No, that's like
Just call him
really
the
cool.
Easter Bunny.
And I want to know from you that you're the biggest Red Arrow fan
God.
here. Or you're the biggest Arsenal fan
Sure.
here. I love him too. Did you feel the show suffered with him being gone? He's been gone for half a season now. Did the episode immediately become better for you because he was there?
It was one of those like you see a really good friend from high school that you haven't seen in a long time, but you don't care to like carry on the relationship any longer than just like seeing that.
I just lost it looking at this guy over here.
I mean, it's kind of good that he's gone, I guess.
You were just like seeing a lot of friends from high school, which I bought, and they're like, but you don't really care about it. And I was like, I don't know.
It's nice to see them, but you're like
nice.
so kind of apart at that point. Like so much has happened in the Arrow universe since
Yeah.
he's been gone. Like
Yeah,
in that short
true.
time he's been gone, that while I did miss him and I like seeing him back and I like seeing the like 90% parkour that he's brought back to the show, it's nice to have him there, but I don't know at this point where he fits in because we have Thea who's kind of stepped into that role on his behalf. I mean, what do you guys think?
I agree, actually, because I loved seeing Roy. I love the character Roy. I loved seeing him on the show, but he did seem a little out of place because he's been gone for so long. I don't remember, like, if in the episode, did he say he was going to stick around a little bit? Or
No,
do we know
he's
that yet?
taken off
No.
again.
He's taken off.
Yeah, but Thea went to the hospital, so you would figure he might stick around, right?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Colton Haynes only ran for this one episode, I think.
Oh, okay.
So that's the
There
reason
you
why
go.
Roy's got to go.
That
I
answers that.
will say that I loved, I think it was two or three Man in the Mask scenes that we have of Team Arrow chasing them down and all the parkour, because I feel that's something that we kind of lost in this show. Like we've kind of lost this parkour, because if you remember in the pilot, Stephen
of it.
Amell's jumping all over the
yeah.
roof and
Yeah.
flipping around, and you're just like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
And we've kind of lost that lately.
And I always enjoyed that, and I think
did
we
too.
all were like, because that's a way more organic action scene than Arrow coming in when the entire team is surrounded by. They're not Hive. What did you call them?
mercenaries is what they were. They were just mercenaries. Yeah.
Surrounded by Hive, and they're all like, "Crap, you got us." And Arrow's like, and I'm just gonna kick all six of you guys.
Yeah,
And like,
Well,
knock you down.
it was the thing where Arrow was like, "I'm just off the camera frame, and
Yeah.
you didn't see me."
Gotcha. Didn't have to use his arrow.
Yep.
But I really dig that kind of stuff. I also pointed out, and this is totally off subject, but that Colton Haynes, the actor, and as he's playing Arsenal, sounds exactly like Peter Malark. The
did bring
cadence
that
of
up.
his voice
Pretty funny.
and how he speaks sounds just like Peter. And then you guys were like, kinda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you guys are watching, and if you want to comment in the YouTube section, if you guys sound like, well, what's that actor's name?
Josh.
Hutcherson.
Josh
Josh
Hutcherson.
Hutcherson.
Thank you.
If you think he sounds like Josh Hutcherson / Peter Malark, let me know.
Please direct all your Hunger Games hate to Josh Macuga.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Right there.
And you can send it to me on graphing calculators, guys.
Any other positives? Or honestly, I have no negatives for this episode.
T-spheres.
So you guys.
T-spheres.
Yes.
I want to see more T-spheres.
The Mr. Terrific in the comic books, he develops this ball. We've seen it several times. In this episode, it had a T, and when Roy broke into Palmer Tech, he threw it at him. Now it would have exploded my brain if it hit him and then it floated, and you would have been like, "Oh my god," you know, like.
But okay, so he throws a T-sphere, and then Roy catches it and throws it back at him.
Which means that it's obviously not operational.
Right.
So,
Got it,
but
got it.
hopefully, and that was the thing I was saying. Like, there were a lot of great Easter eggs. There was the T-spheres. We got to see him with the T. The bomb at the end that the mercenaries used said Cadmus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cadmus is like a cloning company in the DC universe. It's very evil. If you ever watched the Justice League cartoon, they're the villain of season 3 is Cadmus. Also, this is a very deep cut for Arrow, and I couldn't believe it. In the very beginning, the building that Roy is breaking into is Ameritech. Now, a lot of people out there are probably like, what the hell is Ameritech? Ameritech is this company in the DC universe that does nothing but build weapons. And in a 90s series called Steel, John Henry Irons, the African-American Superman, that was his main enemy for like 50 issues, was Ameritech. And so like when they showed up and they showed that giant Ameritech sign, I was like, holy cow, what is
They're
going
going
on?
deep.
They're going really
Yeah.
deep
Yeah.
here.
Jason Inman, 98.7 deep cuts. It's an all deep cuts weekend,
But that's one of the
everybody.
things that
But that's what made the episode so good.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I loved about Flash, and I love about Arrow, because they do go deep. They love the Easter eggs, and it's so much fun, like seeing like every episode, like what you're gonna catch. Yeah, we missed the Hal Jordan reference, the first episode.
You.
Oh, we
Except
did.
for-
Us.
we did.
Right here.
You're okay. But yeah, I love stuff like that, and they do such a good job with it.
Yeah.
Agreed. And we have Jason to catch everything for us.
Well,
I learn something new every week.
There you
seriously.
go. There you go.
Thank you.
But I just, God, this episode, reminded me so much of the high point of the show in season 2. And if they can keep this quality, man, we're gonna end the season strong.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what we've kind of been talking about since season 3 and a little bit of season 4, and as we watch the shows together, which I love doing with you guys, is that we always have like a couple little giggle moments of like either action scenes or just like kind of cheesy moments.
Are you gonna bring up the dance scene?
No, I don't think this one really had it. I don't think, besides the fact that we kind of made fun of the fact that Calculator's lair looks exactly just like a neat corner of the Arrow's lair. Other than that,
There was also the moment where Roy, when he was parkouring, at one point seemed to do it like a spin of breakdancing.
Oh, yeah, he did a little
so
breakdancing.
Oliver could catch up with him.
Yeah.
But those are like so slight
Yeah.
nitpicks.
Right.
Whereas otherwise, unlike the Damien Dark scene where he met in the middle of the street, and we
Right.
were like, how
Yeah.
is nobody seeing the villain?
Yeah.
Well, I guess my biggest issue is, and we kind of touched on this last week, was with Felicity. I mean, there was a little bit of a struggle, like, adjusting to life in a wheelchair, but not the kind of struggle you would expect to see someone that had such a traumatic experience. Like, you would think, like, one episode, she pretty much everything was resolved. And that kind of that bugs me. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
But it's Felicity Smoke. A little bit. Yeah. I mean,
I was glad we saw a little bit of it in the presentation where she was like knocking everything over.
Right.
Do I wish there was more? Yes, but I also realize that this is the comic book show about a guy who dresses in a green hood and shoots arrows, and there's magic.
Yeah, it's
and
not Parenthood.
So like I'm not expecting the realism of The Wire in Arrow.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I agree. The last thing I have that we haven't really touched on is Thea's bloodlust and what's happening with that.
Which is a major storyline in the episode.
Yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts?
It seems to me that right now with what she's going through is so on the nose that I don't think she could be in the grave. I know some people it seems like they're teasing it, but it's like, again, it's kind of like Felicity with me. It just seemed too on the nose. Like, I can't see Felicity in the grave. She clearly was not. But now with what they're doing with Thea, I think we might see Thea pop up in that limousine. I think she's going to be okay.
Interesting. Because I was going to say that this kind of led me, more towards Thea. Because last week, remember, I told you I was like, I'm kind of shifting. I'm maybe going towards Thea. This led me more to Thea because the Arrow writers don't tend to give us left hooks.
Yeah.
They do tend to seed, and they did this on Flash last year with the identity of Harrison Wells. I forever thought that Harrison Wells was not going to be the Reverse Flash. Spoilers for season 1. Go watch it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Get out of here, crazy. I thought forever they were not going to do that because that was so obvious, and they did it. And so now I think that this bloodlust is going to lead to a situation that they may have to, it may come to the end of the season and somebody has to kill Thea, or Thea goes on a suicide run just so she's not a bother. What were you going to say, man?
No, I when you mentioned Thea last week, I started thinking about it this week, and she kind of is a disposable character at this point.
Right now, yeah.
She really is. Like, she has a decent storyline here and there, and I like the bloodlust storyline. I like the fact that Malcolm is the reason. She's the reason Malcolm keeps coming back to the show. But we're
also setting up sort of her replacement with Curtis Holt.
Right.
Yeah.
So I could totally see her in the grave, and I think that might be the best, not best as in like, yeah, good, she's gone, as in like, wow, they are willing to go there to put Thea in the grave.
Yes.
Well, I have to side with Michael here. I don't think it's Thea in the grave.
Oh, Christ, Ann.
I'm sorry. We should probably switch you guys now.
Probably should.
Michael will go over here. Josh will
You're
go over
supposed
there.
to support me, Ann.
Sorry. Only because she has Daddy Merlin constantly protecting her. And I have to think that guy was willing to do anything for Thea to keep her alive and to keep her safe, and whatever that's going to be. I also think it's going to put Oliver in such a predicament that Thea is going to die if he doesn't let her feed on this bloodlust.
We're going to have to talk about, too, because this is what you just said brought me up a thing, but I know that Michael has a Twitter question that's going to bring us down into this that I think also sets up an interesting thing for season 5, if it's Thea in that grave.
Perfect, then.
So,
let's go into the Twitter question.
Well done.
Nice little.
Segue.
Let's do that.
We're doing this from our phones.
Yes, we are.
Go
we
for
are.
it, you guys.
Okay, so this question, BBN8, it's at innate myself. With every
That's a good one.
Nice.
And ate myself. Oh,
with everything going on, I've always thought that maybe Oliver isn't talking about Dark at the grave, but Merlin. Thoughts? That's an excellent point.
And here you go. If Merlin, they go through all these efforts. We spend the next 6 or 7 episodes going through all these efforts to try to cure her. Oh, let's let Damien Dark touch her and cure her somehow. Okay, Constantine comes back. Woo, nothing happens.
how was it again?
Lotus.
Yeah, thanks.
That's canon.
Yeah.
What if Merlin just kills her to solve her bloodlust? Merlin's like, hey, I can't cure it anymore. Done.
With one of,
I feel
with
like
one
he
of
would rather kill
Oliver's
himself
arrows.
than his
With,
daughter.
or something. I don't know. To me, there is Merlin has proved time and time again that he will do anything.
Yeah.
Anything. And in his mind, I think he'll be like, just let her dead. He didn't want to put her in the Lazarus pit originally.
Right.
Oliver did.
Yeah.
well, we kind of need something to bring us back around. When we were watching this episode, I was like, yeah, Merlin of late has been kind of a good guy, kind of a nice guy. Like, you don't want to, I want to hate Merlin. That would be a good way to hate Merlin again, you know, by killing Thea, because that would make sense. I mean, you're killing Oliver's sister. It would make sense, I guess, for Barry to come in to kind of console, you know, Oliver, because this was his sister. I don't think it's going to be Thea, but it's a possibility.
And two is we finally see Oliver and Merlin shake hands.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they're finally getting along, and then boom, he kills Thea, and he's like, back to being my enemy.
Well, especially like with the next episode setting up this whole Nissa, like Oliver, you got to go. You got to kill Malcolm Merlin. I don't know, like. I mean, you and me were on the same page. We were like, man, we want Lance in that grave. But the last 3 or 4 episodes have been just like pointing
Lance
my
wasn't even in this
compass right
episode.
to Thea.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Wasn't even
So
in
He's the only one that was missing on my list.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's interesting, because for me, there's only a certain number of characters that can make Felicity and Oliver be that torn up. And to me, I mean, what do you think? Let's put out who we think the candidates could be. Who are the suspects? I mean, I think Diggle's definitely a suspect. Thea is a suspect.
Yep.
See, I don't know Lance, but I think I would move Lance to the bottom of the list.
Yeah,
now.
no, I'd take Lance
definitely
down.
not. I don't think Felicity's mom elicits that reaction.
I'm beginning to think now it's not the mom.
and I
either.
don't think Oliver's son does either.
Everybody keeps recommending Oliver's son on Twitter and Facebook or whatever, and I'm just like, one, we've only really met him for 10 seconds. 2, they're not going to kill a kid in the show. And
No.
3, we don't really know anything about him.
No.
It does nothing, and it would do nothing for Felicity to be like, we've got to kill him.
Yeah, I
You
think
know?
I think Oliver's son is going to be the wedge that drives the Felicity and Oliver apart.
Right.
They're not going to kill the kid.
No.
Yeah.
It's not going to
Definitely
happen.
not.
But so right now we're at Thea, we're
Diggle.
at Diggle, and we're at Lance.
Yes.
Anybody
Diggle's
else?
wife. Why can't I think of Diggle's
Lila.
wife? Lila. I think she's a possibility.
Yeah, but again, to get the reaction you want in that limo, I honestly think it's either Diggle or
It's Diggle or Thea. I think it's Diggle or Thea.
And I'm leaning real towards Thea.
Yeah, I am too. I think that's where I'm leaning down now.
I follow Willa on Instagram. She hasn't really posted anything. So.
She is in real life extremely short.
Yeah. She looks
Well,
like,
I
Just like Colton Haynes.
imagine
yeah.
that.
And just like Andy Diggle, or not Andy Diggle.
Yeah, Andy Diggle.
Yeah,
Andy
Andy
Diggle.
Diggle.
I like that. Let's every week let's continue to
No, mark off our suspect
We
list.
need
Suspects.
we need a hierarchy
We will.
board where we keep moving people up
Where
and
do you
down.
guys lean? Where do you guys lean?
I'm still with Diggle.
Still with Diggle. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Lance.
Look, I love it, Michael.
Holding strong.
Holding
He
strong.
doesn't-
We've abandoned ship, and,
Yep.
he's like, guys, I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
Because then if I'm right,
I've picked
I can have
9
all
different
your
Super Bowl
noses in
winners
it.
over the last year. So I
See,
mean,
that's the thing. Like Josh and I will be groveling in front of you. Like
Yes.
if you
if it's Lance, we're taking you out to dinner. It's gonna
Yeah,
be Baja.
oh,
Fresh.
it's right
We're
here.
gonna-
That is right here. We will both take him out for a
Oh,
fancy dinner.
wait.
Fancy.
Can
I
I
think you mean
come?
Baja Fresh.
Okay, Olive Garden.
Oh, you know, I'll go to Olive Garden.
But I think we just throw that out right now. Okay, whoever is the winner of Who's in the Grave, like
Doesn't pay for dinner.
doesn't pay for dinner.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
I love
All right.
it because I win already.
I have a fun question from Arrow that doesn't really deal with anything from tonight's episode, but I just think it's kind of a nice little check back in question.
Okay.
This is from Michael. How would you say his last name, sir?
It's you two guys over there.
Gotze?
Gotze.
Something like that? Gotze?
Michael Gotze. He says,
Gauthier.
do any of you think that Oliver and Laurel will end up together like they do in the comics? Now, this is a recurring thing because of the Felicity thing. We kind of have some hints that Felicity and Oliver are breaking up. I know Laurel didn't really have a big part. She was just kind of a standard, I'm here, and Black Canary punch a guy in the face.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question to keep coming back to because, yeah, Black Canary and Green Arrow are such a big romance in the comics.
Should we just do a straight yes or no?
Sure.
All right, go, Josh.
No.
I'm gonna say yes.
Wait, are we assuming that Oliver and Felicity will be breaking up?
Let's just say
Medina.
whatever.
I need info. If Felicity and
End of the day,
Oliver...
series finale, who ends up? just yes
Do
or no.
it. Damn it,
Yes
so
or no?
much pressure.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
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 It's interesting. All the guys. So Anna,
Yeah, I said
why?
yes.
I said no. I was the only one
Oh,
who
you're
said
the
no.
no. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
there
no,
you
no,
go.
no.
There you go.
Why no, Josh?
Oh, we'll see. Okay, and it goes back to some things I talked about on Flash last night too. But I think that like they've abandoned Laurel's character in this show. She's part of the crew, and she's always like hanging over Felicity's shoulder or Diggle's shoulder, being like, "Well, what about there? What about there?" But she really has no other plot lines in the show. She really hasn't had a plot line since she put Sarah back in Lazarus Pit, which was 7 episodes ago.
Yeah, wow.
She's just been a secondary character. Now I don't know if they're hoping to reintroduce her or something, or like she comes to support Oliver when he and Felicity break up, because obviously that's going to happen. It's too nice. She's too nice. He's too much of a badass for it to happen. It's just how TV works. It's same thing I said about Iris last night, is that like she has no love interest this season of Flash, so we are totally forget about her. Like she really has no overarching storyline that we care about. Like let's just say Zoom, we knew that Zoom's alter ego, or that she was dating some guy that she thought was somebody good, but the calculator was younger. She was after older guys and yada yada yada. It would give us some sort of stakes involved, but because not, then that's why I say no. We're like slowly but surely just being like, well, it's Laurel.
I'm not trying to look too into this, but last week's episode, there was a scene with Oliver and Laurel talking, and it was just the two of them having a little moment talking about Felicity, and she was talking about how, like, well, you know, I used to date you, blah, blah, blah. And again, that doesn't mean anything, but it's still kind of reminding the audience that, well, these guys do have a history together.
I think there's plenty of time.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's plenty of time for them to get together. I also think it's the thing, like, it's the same thing like Smallville. When Smallville started, everybody was like, "Oh, Clark's going to end up with Lana," and right from the beginning, I was like, "No, they're going to introduce Lois somewhere, and he's going to end up with Lois because Lois is the person he ends up with."
Right.
You know, it's the same thing to me. Like, I don't know when it's going to happen. I think it's like 4 seasons down the road because, yes, I think Arrow's going to last probably at least 8 seasons. Yeah, watch me.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah, come at me because we're in a superhero TV renaissance. But I think they will eventually work it around. I actually think...
But right now, there's just no sexual chemistry.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think they'll come back to it.
Okay.
I think they'll come back to it.
Yeah, agreed.
So.
I think they will as well. That's going to do it for the Twitter questions. You guys, let's go quickly into our predictions for next week's episode. We had a little glimpse as to what's happening next week. So, Josh, any thoughts?
It looks like the scene in Anchorman when all the news stations start fighting, right? It's like Nessa's crew and Merlin's crew and the Arrow crew, and then just like, you know, the Spanish-speaking language station comes in. Like, the battle scenes in next week look amazing. I don't think anything is going to be totally resolved. As far as like the death of Malcolm Merlin or anything like that, but I think something is going to happen with like a possible Damien Dark reappearance, because he hasn't been in the last couple episodes, where he joins forces with Nessa's crew to try and hurt Malcolm, or Malcolm gets Damien Dark. Something is going to happen in that battle with Damien Dark that's going to lead us towards like trending the crescendo towards the season finale.
Yeah, I'm hoping next week's episode we kind of start seeing glimpses of evil Merlin again, because I want to hate this man. So I love Barrowman's an amazing actor, probably my favorite character on the show. I want to hate him again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jason?
What was the name of Dark's wife? Ruve
Adams.
Ruve Adams. I think we're going to see a debate between the two of them next episode. Something we're in there.
I like that.
I think Ruve is the one who's going to out Oliver's son.
Oh.
She's going to use it and blow up his political campaign.
Very smart.
Or try to, anyways. I think Dark's going to team with Malcolm.
Yeah.
I think they'll team together. I don't think he'll go with Nyssa. I think Merlin will team with Dark, and then we'll have that team up against Team Arrow and Nyssa.
Okay. I have a quick little question for predictions. Tim Tebow Jr. I forgot the character's name on the show.
That's how we know him.
Alex, is that
Campaign manager. Man.
Campaign manager, man.
Yeah, we don't get a chance to see much of him. We have to assume we will. Do we think there's any chance he's going to play some sort of a role with like League of Assassins?
Hey, man,
I know people.
If you want to go down crazy prediction land, it is my hope that he is Joseph Wilson.
I was just about to say that.
Of Slade Wilson. It's my hope that he was working for Dark.
They do kind of they have like same jawline looking kind of.
Because Deathstroke is busy on the Legend of Shannara Chronicles. So he's not going to be coming back to the show anytime soon, and it'd be the way to give us Deathstroke in the season where Oliver will finally leave the island.
Absolutely. That's what I'm hoping for.
I hope that's who it is. He's definitely working for Dark. He's somebody.
He's somebody.
They don't keep bringing him around if he's
not like
exactly.
the DJ last season.
Yeah.
I don't have crazy predictions
Sorry.
like you, Jason. I'm sad.
Jason always has the best ones.
I'm sorry.
There's nothing wrong with
Talk
it.
about Colton Haynes.
Well, that's a whole nother episode.
We got another 30 minutes.
Nissa puts Oliver in a predicament, right? Because we see him shake hands and he's kind of chummy with Malcolm. She asked him to kill him. We see that in the trailer for next week's episode. I don't think we'll get further than that in next week's episode. I think we'll kind of see the conflict, but we won't see the resolution. But now I'm at a loss because now there are like 50 million things going through my head in terms of where we're going to end up in the season finale. I always thought it was going to be Damien Dark's army against this crew. But now we have the introduction of Nissa and what she's, her agenda is. We have the calculator. We have the potential for Malcolm to be good or bad.
I think
That's
Damien Dark
always
hires the calculator,
the
too.
flip. And now with that question from the fan, I don't even know who put who in the grave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm
definitely the
all-
Gravedigger.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Leave, Jason. Your predictions are perfect.
I know. Now I'm just confused. But, there's just so much going on. They've done such a beautiful job with this season. So much better than last season, I have to
Yeah.
say. So I'm just really excited. There's so much that I don't know, and I'm excited to figure out what that's going to be.
It's a beautiful maelstrom. It
Yes.
really is. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's a great place to be in. So, as an Arrow fan, we are all excited for next week's episode 13. Again, thank you to Cynthia, who is no longer with us right now, but she joined us earlier in this episode. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that interview. Let's go around the table and talk about where you guys can find all of us, starting with Josh.
Hey, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh Macuga. You can find me here on Collider for The Walking Dead, which starts on February 12th, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which starts in March, and on YouTube, Between the Sheets TV.
Michael?
You can find me at Mr. Michael Lexus on Twitter at Mr. Michael Lexus 14. That's Mr. Michael Lexus 14 on Instagram, and with Josh Macuga on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recap show.
And Jason.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Periscope at Jawin, Jawin, and at youtube.com/Jawin. The same exact spelling, all kinds of good stuff over there. And I, too, want to thank Cynthia Robinson for being awesome.
She was awesome. Yeah.
I'm still a little scared by her, but,
Yeah.
she was great.
That's why she left. She had to go to Hong Kong and kill somebody.
And you guys can follow me at Ann Campea. You can also follow me on Snapchat at Campea. And make sure you guys hood up with us every week. Make sure to tweet us using the hashtag ColliderArrow, as well as leave a comment. Click that like button under this video as well. And we will see you guys next week to talk about episode 13. Until then, hood up.